Have you ever planted bell pepper seeds with so much excitement, only to watch them grow slow, skinny, or just tired? Maybe your seedlings stretched out like noodles, or your peppers took forever to ripen, while your neighbor's garden looked like a pepper factory. You're not alone. Peppers can be tricky when you don't understand what they need in those early months. Today, I'm walking you through the full roadmap from seed to 4-month-old plants that actually thrive. We're talking seed selection, germination, potting up, hardening off, transplanting outside, and how to care for them so they grow strong and productive. And stick around because toward the end, I'll share a simple method that can boost your harvest by as much as 30%. Most gardeners overlook it, but it makes a huge difference. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the follow-up videos where we cover fruiting, pruning, and harvest. All right, let's get into it. When you understand how bell peppers grow, everything else starts to make sense. These plants come from warm regions in Central and South America, so their entire growth cycle is built around heat, sunlight, and time. They're not like lettuces or radishes that bounce back from a cool night. Peppers are warm season crops through and through, and they behave like it. They need a long growing season because they take their time at every stage. They sprout slowly, they grow slowly, and they ripen slowly. That's just who they are. If the temperature drops too low, even for a short period, peppers respond immediately. Below about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, they stop growing. Below 55, they don't even want to think about producing. You'll see the leaves droop, the plant stalls, and the flowers might even drop off. It's not that the plant is unhealthy, it's just reacting to cold like you would react to jumping into an ice bath. This is why starting peppers indoors is such a game changer, especially in zones where spring stays cool for a long time. By the time the weather warms up enough outside, you've already lost weeks of potential growth. And peppers can't afford that. They need that early head start. When you start indoors, you get to control the environment. Warm soil, steady light, no wind, and no cold snaps. This gives your peppers 2 to 3 extra months of real growth before they ever touch the garden. And that early growth is what leads to stronger stems, healthier root systems, and earlier fruit production. Think of it like training for a race. A pepper plant that starts indoors has been preparing for months. By the time you transplant it outside, it's ready to compete. A pepper plant that starts outdoors has to figure out the weather, the soil, and the environment while trying to grow at the same time. And it never truly catches up. So if you've ever wondered why some gardeners get big, productive pepper plants while others get small, hesitant ones, it usually comes down to this one thing: understanding that peppers need heat, time, and a strong start. And indoors is the only place you can guarantee all three. Before you even open a seed packet, it helps to know that not all bell pepper seeds are created equal. Different varieties behave differently, and choosing the right one can make the entire growing season easier. Some peppers are bred for short seasons, meaning they mature faster and don't need as much warm weather. Others are long season varieties, and those are the big, thick-walled peppers that take their time but reward. Short season varieties mature quicker, usually in the 70 to 80-day range. These are perfect for cooler climates or anyone gardening in zones where summers don't stay hot for very long. Names like Ace, King of the North, and Early Crisp fall into this group. They're reliable, they're consistent, and they're forgiving when the season starts out cool or ends earlier than you expected. Long season peppers are the ones you see in grocery stores, the large, blocky bells with thick flesh. Varieties like California Wonder, Big Bertha, and the beautiful chocolate or purple bells fit here. They take longer to mature, but the payoff is worth it if you have the heat and time. These thrive in zones with extended warm seasons, or for gardeners who can give them that early indoor boost. Now, let's talk about something people overlook: seed freshness. Pepper seeds don't last forever. You'll usually get 2 to 3 good years out of them, but after that, germination rates drop sharply. You might plant a whole tray only to watch half of them sprout. So always check the date on the packet, and when possible, buy from reputable seed companies that handle storage correctly. Fresh seeds give you the best possible start. Another thing you might be tempted to try is saving seeds from grocery store peppers. It feels like a smart idea, but here's the catch. Most of those peppers are hybrids. That means the plant they came from was bred using two different parent varieties, and the seed inside won't grow into the same pepper you bought. It might grow a pepper, but it won't be predictable. Different size, different color, different flavor. If you want consistency, stick with labeled varieties. Finally, think about your personal goals. Do you want peppers that ripen early? Then go with quick maturing varieties. Do you want thick, crunchy walls for stuffing? Choose the larger bell types. Are you looking for colorful peppers for salads or market displays? There are reds, oranges, yellows, purples, and even chocolate shades. Match the variety to the result you want, and your entire growing season becomes a lot smoother. Choosing the right seeds isn't just a small step, it's the foundation of your whole pepper growing journey. And getting this part right sets you up for success long before the first seed ever touches soil. One of the biggest reasons pepper growers struggle is timing. Peppers aren't like fast-growing greens or herbs. They don't sprint, they jog. So starting them at the right moment gives them the runway they need to grow strong before summer heat arrives. The general rule is simple. Start your bell pepper seeds 8 to 10 weeks before your last frost date. That window gives the seedlings enough time to germinate, develop true leaves, get potted up, and grow into sturdy young plants before you move them outside. Let's break that down. If your last expected frost date is around May 15th, count back about 10 weeks. That puts your seed starting time in early to mid-March. Starting earlier rather than later gives peppers the time they need because they grow slowly compared to fast crops like tomatoes or cucumbers. And here's something gardeners often overlook. Peppers hate cold soil. Even when the air warms up, the ground can still be too chilly for them. Starting indoors skips that whole problem. You're giving them the warm, stable conditions they naturally prefer and would never get outdoors in early spring. Starting too late means your plants will be small and weak when warm weather finally arrives, and they'll spend most of the summer just trying to catch up. They might produce, but not the way you hoped. Starting too early, on the other hand, can leave you with plants that get tall and root-bound before the weather is warm enough outside. That's why the 8-10 week window is such a sweet spot. Not too early, not too late. Just enough time for the seedlings to grow at their natural pace without feeling rushed. When you get the timing right, your pepper seedlings are ready to go outdoors the moment temperatures stabilize, and that jump start makes a massive difference in your harvest later in the season. Timing might seem like a small detail, but for peppers, it's one of the most important decisions you make all year. Now that you know when to start, let's talk about how to set up your seed starting area, because this is where your peppers either get a strong beginning or fall behind before they even sprout. First things first, your containers. Anything with drainage holes will work. You can use cell trays, small nursery pots, or even recycled yogurt cups with holes poked in the bottom. The goal is simple. Water needs to escape so your seeds don't sit in soggy soil. Peppers do not appreciate wet feet. Next is your seed starting mix. This part matters more than people realize. Seed starting mix is lighter, finer, and designed specifically for germination. It drains well while still holding just enough moisture. Garden soil and regular potting soil are too heavy for tiny seeds. They compact easily, stay too wet, and can introduce disease. So grab a proper seed starting mix, something with peat or cocoa coir, perlite, and vermiculite. Your seeds will thank you for it. Before filling your containers, moisten the mix, not soaking wet, but damp like a wrung-out sponge. Mixing water beforehand helps the soil settle evenly and prevents dry pockets. If you water after you've planted, the pressure can shift your seeds around or bury them too deep. Once your trays or cups are filled, it's time to plant. Peppers only need to be about a 1/4 inch deep. I usually make a small hole with my finger or a pencil tip, drop in 1 or 2 seeds, then lightly cover them. No need to pack the soil tightly, just enough contact so the seed wakes up and stays evenly moist. After planting, mist the surface gently. Then cover the tray with a humidity dome or even a piece of plastic wrap. This holds in moisture and warmth, which is exactly what peppers need during germination. Now let's talk about tools. You don't need a fancy setup, but having a few simple things helps a lot. A spray bottle for gentle watering, a heat mat if your home runs cool, and a tray to catch excess water. These small tools make seed starting smoother and give you consistent results. This whole setup doesn't have to be complicated. The goal is to create a controlled environment where your pepper seeds can wake up comfortably. Warm soil, light moisture, and clean air circulation. Get this part right and you'll see strong, healthy sprouts that already have an advantage before they ever reach the garden. All right, let's get into the part that makes or breaks pepper growing for most gardeners: germination. Peppers are not fast starters. They take their time, and they're very particular about the temperature of the soil. If the soil is too cool, they simply sit there doing nothing. And that waiting game can frustrate new gardeners. The sweet spot for pepper germination is warm soil, around 80 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. That warmth signals the seed that it's safe to grow. Anything cooler than that slows everything down. At 70 degrees, your seeds might take 2 or even 3 weeks to sprout. Drop below 65 and you may not get sprouts at all, or you'll get patchy, uneven germination. This is why many growers use a seedling heat mat. It's not a luxury, it's one of the best tools you can invest in if you plan to grow peppers every year. A heat mat sits right under your seed tray and gently warms the soil to keep it in that ideal temperature range. Once you set it up, you don't have to think about it again. The seeds stay warm day and night and they respond quickly. If you don't have a heat mat, there are alternatives. You can place your tray on top of a refrigerator, near a water heater, or in any spot that stays naturally warm. Just remember to check the soil temperature with a simple thermometer. Guessing doesn't cut it here. Peppers are sensitive enough that a few degrees can make a big difference. Moisture is another key factor. While your seeds are germinating, you want the soil to stay consistently damp. Not soaked, not dry. Too much water can suffocate the seed or invite fungal problems. Too little water interrupts the germination process. Using a humidity dome or plastic cover helps keep that balance and prevents the surface from drying out too fast. Check the tray once a day. If the soil looks dry on top, mist it lightly. Don't pour water at this stage. A heavy stream can wash seeds deeper into the soil or push them to the sides of the container. The moment you see a sprout, even a tiny green hook poking out, remove the dome right away. Leaving it on traps too much moisture around the young seedlings and can lead to damping off, a fungal issue that kills seedlings at the soil line. It's heartbreaking and completely preventable. So during germination, think of warmth, even moisture, and gentle care. When you give peppers the exact environment they need at this stage, they reward you with strong, healthy seedlings that are ready for the next phase. Once your pepper seeds sprout, everything changes. Up to this point, the seeds were sleeping and gathering energy. Now they're awake and they need a completely different environment to grow properly. The first mistake most gardeners make is keeping things the same after germination. But peppers have new priorities now, and the biggest one is pepper seedlings need about 14 to 16 hours of strong, direct light every single day. A sunny window, even one that faces south, usually isn't enough. The light from a window spreads out and weakens by the time it reaches your seedlings, so they stretch upward looking for more. That's how you end up with thin, wobbly stems and long gaps between the leaves. Classic signs of leggy seedlings. Using a grow light solves that problem instantly. You don't need anything expensive. A simple LED shop light hung a few inches above the seedlings works beautifully. Keep it close, about 2 to 3 inches away, so the light is bright enough to keep the stems short and strong. As the seedlings grow, lift the light a little higher, but keep it close enough that they never have to stretch. Next comes watering. Seedlings aren't ready for heavy watering yet. Their roots are tiny, and too much water can drown them or lead to damping off. Instead, think light and consistent. Check the soil every day. When the top feels dry to the touch, water gently, either by bottom watering or by using a small watering can with a narrow spout. Avoid soaking the seedlings from above. Wet stems are more vulnerable to disease. Another thing to watch for is airflow. Seedlings raised indoors don't experience wind, so they can grow soft and fragile. One simple trick is to run a small fan on low nearby, not blowing directly on the plants, just enough to move the air around. This strengthens the stems and helps prevent fungal problems. You can also brush your hand gently over the tops of the seedlings once or twice a day. That slight movement encourages sturdier growth. Now let's talk about temperature. Once your seedlings are up, they don't need the same heat mat temperatures they needed for germination. You can remove the heat mat or lower the temperature so the soil stays around 70 to 75 degrees. This keeps the seedlings comfortable without making them grow too fast or too weak. During these early weeks, your main job is observation. Look for healthy green leaves, compact stems, and steady growth. If your seedlings lean toward one side, rotate the tray. If the leaves start to yellow from the bottom, that could be a sign they're hungry or overwatered. A little attention each day goes a long way. This is the phase where strong pepper plants are built. Bright light, steady watering, and gentle airflow create the foundation your peppers need before they move into larger pots and eventually out into the garden. Around 3 to 4 weeks after germination, you'll notice your pepper seedlings growing their first set of true leaves. The leaves that actually look like miniature pepper leaves, not those little round baby ones. That's your signal that it's time to pot them up. Peppers grow slowly at first, but once they hit this stage, they need more room for their roots to spread out. Keeping them in tiny starter cells for too long can stunt them and slow everything down. Choose pots that are about 3 to 4 inches wide. Fill them with a good quality potting mix, something richer than seed starting mix, since the plants are ready for more nutrients now. Make a small hole in the center so you can set the seedling deep enough to support the stem. Peppers can grow additional roots along the buried part of the stem, so planting them a little deeper helps them become sturdier and more resilient. When you remove the seedling from its original cell, push gently from the bottom instead of pulling on the stem. Pepper stems are delicate at this stage, and any damage can slow growth. Place the seedling in the new pot, fill in the sides, and press the soil lightly to secure it. Then water thoroughly so the soil settles around the roots. Don't worry if the seedlings droop a little afterward. That's completely normal. They're adjusting to their new environment. Keep them out of intense light for a day while they recover, then move them back under your grow lights. Potting up gives your peppers the space and nutrients they need to keep growing strong indoors. This step alone can make the difference between a weak transplant and a confident, fast-growing plant ready for the garden. Now let's talk about one of the most important steps in the entire pepper growing process, hardening off. Your seedlings have been living indoors in perfect comfort. Steady temperatures, soft light, no wind, no sudden changes. If you take them straight from that environment and plant them outside, the shock can be so intense that growth slows for weeks. Some plants even collapse within a day. Hardening off is simply giving your seedlings time to adjust to outdoor life. Think of it as training them for the real world. You want to increase their exposure slowly so they build strength and resilience. Start by putting them outside for just 2 to 3 hours in a shaded, wind-protected spot. Do that for a couple of days. Then gradually introduce gentle morning sun for a few hours. Each day, increase their time outdoors and their exposure to direct light, but avoid the harsh midday sun at first. By the 5th or 6th day, they should be handling half a day outside comfortably. During the 2nd week, the goal is to get them fully accustomed to outdoor conditions. More sunlight, more airflow, and eventually leaving them outside overnight as long as temperatures stay above 55 degrees. This slow transition allows their stems to toughen, their leaves to adapt to brighter light, and their roots to handle cooler soil. By the end of the hardening off period, your seedlings will look noticeably stronger, and at that point, they're finally ready for transplanting into the garden. Skipping or rushing this step is one of the biggest reasons pepper plants struggle early in the season, so giving them this time pays off in healthier, faster-growing plants later on. Once your peppers are fully hardened off and nighttime temperatures stay above 55 degrees, it's time to get them into the garden. This part is always exciting, but you want to do it carefully so the plants settle in without stress. The best time to transplant is on a cloudy day or later in the afternoon. Planting in direct midday sun can shock the seedlings and slow their growth right from the start. Give each pepper plant plenty of space, about 18 to 24 inches apart. Peppers need good airflow to prevent disease and to support strong branching once they start producing fruit. Dig a hole just deep enough to bury the stem up to the lowest set of leaves. Planting them a little deeper helps them develop a stronger root system, similar to what we did when potting up indoors. Peppers prefer well-draining soil with a slightly acidic pH, somewhere between 6.0 and 6.8. If your soil is heavy or compacted, mix in compost to loosen it. After planting, water deeply so the soil settles around the roots. This first watering is important. It helps remove air pockets and gives the plant a firm start. Add a layer of mulch around the base to help retain moisture and keep the soil temperature steady. And don't forget support. Pepper branches can snap easily once fruit starts forming, so adding small stakes or a short cage right at transplant time makes things easier later on. This early outdoor phase is all about helping your peppers adjust smoothly. Once they're settled in, they'll start putting their energy into growing strong stems and expanding their roots, the foundation for a productive season ahead. Even with great care, peppers can run into a few common problems during those first 4 months, and knowing what to look for makes it much easier to fix things before they slow the plant down. One of the first issues gardeners see is leggy seedlings. If your peppers are tall, thin, and leaning, that's almost always a light problem. Move your grow lights closer or keep them on longer so the seedlings stay compact and sturdy. Another sign to watch for is yellowing leaves, especially starting from the bottom. That usually means the plant is hungry and needs a little nitrogen. A gentle liquid fertilizer clears that up quickly. Just be careful not to overdo it. Peppers don't like heavy feeding when they're young. If your freshly transplanted peppers wilt during the day but perk up again at night, don't panic. That's often just transplant shock. Give them a few days of partial shade and make sure you're watering deeply but not too frequently. They almost always recover once their roots settle in. You might also notice tiny holes in the leaves. Flea beetles and aphids are the usual suspects. Aphids hide under the leaves and a strong spray of water can knock them off. Flea beetles can be deterred with row covers during the early weeks. I avoid heavy pesticides at this stage because peppers benefit from having beneficial insects around later in the season. And then there's blossom drop, when flowers fall off before producing fruit. This is almost always caused by temperature stress. Nights that are too cold or days that are too hot can interrupt the pollination process. There's not much you can do except wait for the weather to settle. The plant will try again. Each of these issues is normal, and most of them are easy to correct once you understand what's going on. The key is paying attention and responding early so your peppers keep growing strong. All right, here's that simple trick I promised you, and it really does make a big difference in your final harvest. Once your pepper plants are established outdoors and you start seeing those very first flower buds appear, pinch them off. I know it feels strange to remove flowers when you're excited for peppers, but those early blooms take energy the plant isn't ready to give. By removing the first set of flowers for the first 2 to 3 weeks after transplanting, you're telling the plant to focus on building a bigger root system and stronger branches. And stronger plants support more peppers later. This little step can boost your overall harvest by 20 to 30%, especially in shorter growing seasons. It's such a small thing, but it pays off all summer long. Once your plants have put on a bit more growth, let them flower freely, and you'll notice they're ready to carry a much heavier load of fruit. And that's the complete journey of growing bell peppers from seed to 4-month-old strong plants that are ready to take off. When you understand their timing, their heat needs, and how to support them at each stage, peppers become one of the most rewarding crops you can grow. This early foundation sets you up for a season full of healthy growth, steady flowering, and a harvest you can actually be proud of. If this breakdown helped you, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss the next video in this series. We'll move into fruiting, pruning, troubleshooting, and all the little things that help your plants produce even more. And drop your questions or experiences in the comments. I like hearing what you're growing and what challenges you're dealing with. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Let's grow some amazing peppers.